That's right, Robin. Look, we just heard, the stakes for this Georgia Senate election. You've got officials there trying to reassure the public, showing their receipts, being transparent, saying there was no voter fraud here, trying to lay that out for people and regain their confidence despite the president's claims. So those Republicans in Georgia join a chorus of Democrats here on Capitol Hill who now say the president was abusing his power. One day after President Trump's phone call with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was released.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Some Democrats say the president may have broken the law.
The President of the United States threatened and berated the Georgia Secretary of State to find votes for him and to recalculate and to engage in other forms of election fraud. That is illegal.
Congress members Ted Lieu of California and Kathleen Rice of New York sent a letter to the FBI asking the agency to investigate.
What specifically did the president do that, in your view, potentially violates federal law?
Georgia had a free and fair election. They had a hand count. They had numerous different recertifications. And you here now have the president telling the Georgia Secretary of State to ignore all of that and to basically reverse what the people of Georgia did. That is election fraud.
On the call, President Trump brought up multiple allegations of voter fraud in Georgia that he says cost him the state's election. Today,
the president wanted us to do a hand recount, a hand retally, which we ended up doing under our audit. That audit showed that there was no problem with machine scanning.
Gabriel Sterling, a Republican and one of Georgia's top elections officials, held a 30-minute press conference during which he debunked every allegation President Trump brought up, one by one.
This is all easily, provably false. Yet the president persists.
Some Republicans on Capitol Hill condemned the call. Many others defended the president.
Georgia did not abide by the Constitution to change the way the electors were selected.
South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman says President Trump was right to question the Georgia results.
This president has been up front on everything. There's fraud in Georgia. He wants it found.
At a rally in Georgia Monday, Vice President Mike Pence said he shares the concerns about voter fraud.
We'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. We'll hear the evidence.
David Schaefer, head of the Georgia Republican Party, called it mind-boggling that Raffensperger would secretly record the president's call, calling it lawlessness. Now, we reached out to the FBI. They told us they received that letter from congressional Democrats, but couldn't comment any further. I want to go back to whether or not the recording of the president itself was illegal. The state of Georgia and Washington, D.C. are both considered one-party jurisdictions. Essentially, that means it's technically not illegal to record another party if there are two parties involved in a conversation, so long as one of them knows that the recording is happening. However, the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party says this was illegal because technically this was a settlement conference, which means they were discussing a lawsuit, and that conversation, he says, should have been confidential. Reporting live tonight in Washington, D.C., Joe Khalil, News Nation.